Some 45,000 years ago, how did a rare species of apes evolve to become the most dominating species of this planet? Scientists believe that the answer to this question lies inside the human brain. But some believe that it is not about individual intelligence or imagination.
It is about collective imagination. Allow me to ask you a question. How many of you know how to make the chair that you're sitting on right now? How many of you know how to make a cell phone that you use so often? But somebody knows. Somebody innovated, and somebody shared, and made it available for you to use. Brian Arthur, in his book, The Nature of Technology, suggested that most of the technology that we use right now is a combination of many other technologies. Most of the new ideas have stemmed from swapping from one idea to another, mixing thoughts, etc. One of a very good example of this is the camera pill. The camera pill was invented after a discussion between a gastroenterologist and a missile designer. Interesting how things get connected. This is what is innovation, sharing of information. And at the base of it lies a simple understanding: creativity, innovation, sharing, and solving. Whenever we talk about solutions, it is implied that there is or there was a problem. And to address a problem, we need to identify the correct problem. And that's the main problem. A few years ago, I was designing an insulin delivery system. Initially, what seemed to be the main problem was the enormous amount of pain which is associated with multiple injections. Later on, I realized that that's not it. There is more to it. And what I stumbled upon was the fluctuation of blood glucose levels. Later on, the big data got added, and things kept on piling and piling. And I realized that these are not the main problems. There is definitely something else which is causing these symptoms to erupt. So what is that one actual problem? And what surfaced was the existing open loop system. What is an open loop system? Open loop system is something similar to how we as humans eat. We eat even when we are not hungry. What I did was, I understood the problem and I addressed it by its exact opposite. I closed the loop. What is a closed loop? Closed loop means how animals eat. They eat when they are hungry. Similarly, the closed loop insulin delivery system facilitated the administration of insulin to the diabetics only when they needed it, only how much ever they needed it. But which means that there needs to be continuous monitoring and there needs to be continuous injections. More injections, more pain. And then for a very long period of time, I was trying to solve how do I make this a pain-free system? And nothing seemed to come to my mind. Until one day. How many of you have been bitten by a mosquito? None of you? All of you. But how many of you have actually realized while you were being bit? Hardly any. Millions of people die out of malaria every year. None of them actually realize when they are being bit. That's the idea that helped me to split one big needle into small, tiny, thin needles, just like the mosquito's probe, and helped me to administer insulin in a pain-free manner to the diabetics. If you see, most of the complex engineering problems actually have a solution in Mother Nature. We just need to identify it. When we start identifying our problems, we start figuring out that there is some sort of a pattern which is emerging. And this gives rise to clusters. And invariably, we can broadly categorize them into these three broad categories: behavioral, systemic, and technical. Behavioral is anything to do with the human behavior, something how we interact with our physical environment and our emotional environment. The technical one is more to do with how things work, the electronics, the mechanics, the materials, etc. The systemic, as the name suggests, is more of a holistic picture of the entire process. Let me explain the three buckets with the help of an example that all of us can relate to. Most of the educators and psychologists believe that our ability to achieve our goals in life is directly proportionate to our ability to focus on a task. We are all very high IQ species. We are very inquisitive. We want to do a lot of things. We want to know everything. But our ability to focus on a particular thing is very short. Our attention spans are very short. And invariably, this hinders our process of learning. For example, a grade 10 student is reading about thermodynamics. He wants to know about the financial budget. He's also reading research papers. And in the middle of all of this, it is very difficult for that student to keep away from this dire desire to go and check Facebook, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Instagram. And this tendency to digress is a behavioral problem. It falls into the behavioral bucket. At the systems level, what is happening is, it is me or I, and something that I want to do, my focus. Say, for example, it's reading a book. For me to concentrate, there has to be an uninterrupted communication between me and my focus. But there are so many things which come around me. Could be my tablet, my phone, my PC, PSPs, whatnot. These are secondary interactions. And because of these, you tend to move away from your focus. If that was not enough, you have tertiary things also, which is your Wi-Fi, your conversations and whatnot, which slowly pull you away from your focus. And at some point, the connection is cut. This is a systemic problem. And what initiates this distraction? A simple beep, a vibration, a glow of light. These are triggers. These are technical problems. And as simple as it sounds, you can address this by using technology to your advantage. Just as we have an airplane mode inside our cell phones, how about having an attention mode? A simple profile wherein you turn off your notifications. So simple. By doing that, there is no trigger. And when there is no trigger, it does not compel you to act. Another thing is, how many of you would actually go and check your cell phones if you had to log in and log out from the browser every time? Hardly. Because when the time taken to complete an action from the trigger is increased, it sounds boring. It's too long to do repeatedly. So that keeps you away from your distractions. This is a technical problem, a technical solution. Now if you see, all these things are somewhere connected. We still have all the distractions around us. There is the cell phone, there is a tablet, there are people who are conversing, but they are mute. Just because you did not turn on your notifications. You did not go under an auto login mode. It's as simple as that. Believe me, you can solve any problem with this simple strategy, this simple framework. All you have to do is break down your problems into these small clusters, start bucketing them into behavioral, technical, and systemic, and start addressing one bucket at a time. Believe me, we cannot solve all the problems of the world at the same time, but we can start with one that makes a difference to you, one that you have identified, one that is for your circle of influence, and change the world. Because future is not where we go from here, it's what we create now. Let's solve problems. Thank you.